Today we are going to start glazing. What we're going to do is use these different colors, these are your color choices, to paint our clay project. To do this, basically glaze is paint for ceramic pieces, and it's a chemical reaction that happens in the kiln. So these are what the glazes will look like when they are fired. So if you do 3 even coats of each one layer on top of each other, and then you place it in the kiln, it's fired again, it'll come out, and it'll look like this. So originally, your clay box or your clay piece was fired once it was completely dry. So it was greenware. That means all the moisture had dried out. It looked like a light gray color. Then I placed it in the kiln. I fired it, and it got super hot, and it turned into bisqueware. So if I tap it with my nail, it makes a dinging noise. So after this, it'll be glazed ware after we go and fire it. So you're going to pick 5 colors, and you're going to start to glaze your actual project today. So in your sketchbook, I would like you to copy down this glaze sheet. So it says name, number of layers, and then there are 5 spots. Those 5 spots are for those glaze colors for you to use. So for instance, if I'm going to use Sun-Kissed, I'm going to write Sun-Kissed on that sheet. After I paint everything sun-kissed on my project, I'm going to put a tally mark there. By the end of the project, when I'm done, I should have 3 tally marks to say that I have done 3 even layers. This will help you keep track of what you've glazed, what you have not glazed. If we do too few layers of glaze, the clay will still show through. If we do too many, it'll start to bubble and morph off and it won't react properly. The reasons why we glaze are as follows. It protects, it reinforces it, and it decorates it. So for instance, you can use different colors, different patterns to create different items. It reinforces it. Let's say the base was not attached to the sides of my box. If I glaze the bottom of the box, the top of the base, those 2 items will fuse together in the kiln to reattach. Now, if I were to do the same thing for an eye here that fell off, because of gravity, that would not work. But if it's something that sits on top of each other, that will work. And last but not least, it protects it. So it puts a protective barrier on the clay. So for instance, if you have ceramic dishes at home, if you cut with a fork and a knife, like a piece of chicken, your plate is not going to break in half. It has this protective shield around it then. Okay, so it protects, it reinforces, and it decorates. What we're going to do is I'm going to use Sun-Kissed here. I have it in my tray. It's a little lighter than if you look at the sheet here. So notice how bright this color is once it's fired. This is what color it looks like when it's coming out of the kiln, or out of the jar, not the kiln. I'm going to simply take my paintbrush, stick it in the paint. I'm holding it like a pencil, just like every other project, and then I'm going to paint that area yellow. Now you are going to use 5 different colors. So I can paint the sides of this if I want. If I want to paint a whole face yellow, that is fine as well. But I need to have at least 5 colors on my project when I go to turn it in. So I could paint this whole side yellow, this side blue, this side green, and so forth. It's up to you. Or I can paint individual items. I would recommend painting the whole inside one solid color. I will paint the top of the base and the sides of the base. The only part I am not going to paint is the bottom of the base, because if I stick this in my kiln on the kiln shelf, the same thing is going to happen for why it reinforces it. It will melt to my kiln shelf, and then your project will be stuck in there. So we don't want that to happen. So if you get any glaze on the bottom, you can just take a sponge, a wet sponge, and just wipe it off, and that would be fine. Okay, so today we're going to paint layer 1. So you're going to paint everything on your box once. Make sure you record it on your glaze sheet so we know what's going on. You understand what step you're on. And you're going to paint the whole thing once.